All right, we're going to start out tonight in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We'll talk with Jacob. Hi, Jacob. What do you got for us tonight, sir?
Yes, I would like to know about the prodigal son. You know the story about the prodigal son?
Yes.
How the elder brother came home
Yes.
and the father petitioned him to come in to feast with the other son.
Uh-huh.
I'm wondering if he was the next prodigal son that left home.
I see. So what happened with that older brother? You know, the jealous older brother in Luke 15, that parable about the prodigal son. What happened to the older brother who kicked up a stink and had all kinds of issues with the father celebrating his prodigal son? You can't do this, Dad. Come on. It's not fair. I've been here the whole time. I was the good son, the good kid. And now you're celebrating my brother who went out as a rebel and was in the muck and the mire. And you're throwing him a feast. You're celebrating his return. Hello, I've been here the whole time and I have been doing right. Well, what is this about? First, there's a obvious meaning, and that is you look at the mercy and the grace and the kindness of the Father. That's what's really showcased in the parable. But I think there's also a deeper meaning. And that is, you can look at the Jew Gentile message right overlaid on top of this prodigal son parable. What do I mean by that? Well, just think about the Jews versus the Gentiles. Who is it that would be saying, now I have been with you this whole time, and then you go and celebrate someone who's been in the muck and the mire? You celebrate someone who has now come to you and they have had an openly sinful lifestyle, and you are willing to celebrate them, and I've been with you the whole time. Well, obviously, you have that reaction from the Jews in the early church 2,000 years ago, the fact that God would extend the gospel to those dirty, rotten Gentiles, the Greeks and the Romans. Well, that is exactly what the gospel is. The gospel is a message for Jews and Gentiles alike, and that's why God says, I'll call a people who are no longer my people, I'm going to call them my people. So when the Son of Man is lifted up, he begins to draw all people unto himself. Jesus is the propitiation, the satisfying sacrifice, not only for the Jews, but for the sins of the whole world, John writes. So, as far as what we learn about the older son, the jealous brother, well, it never really says in Luke 15. Did he go away jealous and stay jealous? Well, there's no end to that story. Jesus leaves it open-ended. And by the way, so does the Apostle Paul, right? The Apostle Paul says, I'm trying to stir the Jews to jealousy. I'm going out on the road to Ephesus and Philippi and Colossae. I'm out there proclaiming the gospel to the Gentiles so that I can stir my fellow Jews, my fellow countrymen. I can stir them to jealousy. And what happened? Did Paul succeed? Well, you can say that's an open-ended question because to this very day, we have Jews and Gentiles who receive the gospel message, and yet many still reject it. And certainly 2,000 years ago, that's what you were seeing from Israel, from the Pharisees, many of the Sadducees, lots of Jews who had the Messiah standing right in front of them, and they rejected him. And in fact, they rejected messengers who brought his gospel, and they would ultimately torture and kill them and all those sorts of things. That's really an amazing aspect to the parable of the prodigal son. At least it's an interpretation to consider, because you got two people. One is jealous of the other. He's jealous that the one is being celebrated. Now, obviously, again, it's also just a beautiful picture of the Father's grace and the Father's love. because it's not about those who are well behaved. It's really all of us can see ourselves in that prodigal son situation. None of us deserve the treatment that we have received from the Father. None of us deserve this incredible forgiveness and righteousness, the free gift of being clean and close to God forever. We don't deserve it. But when we were far off and we had our speech ready, just like that prodigal son, we had our speech ready, the groveling and all of the hoopla about our many, many sins and how we're a dirty worm and we're not deserving of anything and maybe we could scrub the house or something. I mean, that was the speech that the prodigal son had ready. And the father doesn't even hear it. When the son is far off, he looks upon him and he says, "There he is, my son, and let's go get the finest robe to put it on him and let's kill the fatted calf and let's have a feast and let's party because he's returned." So, isn't that a beautiful picture? When we've got all of our speeches ready, we're ready to beg and plead and grovel and hope and wait that maybe God will accept us. God's already, he's already gone ahead of all of that. He doesn't need the speech. And he just says, "Hey, I'm celebrating you. I dance over you. I delight in you. I love you. And surprise, I even like you." So, what a beautiful parable it is. And it has lots of layers of meaning. Thanks for your call tonight, Jacob. Reach out anytime.